haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I appreciate you guys so much.
We're back from Japan, from Asia, and big key thing here is actually the freedom to do this. So hopefully you guys are the type of people that are serious about freedom, serious about your goals. Like you don't want to just get stuck in a 9 to 5. You don't want to get stuck working minimum wage, honestly, for longer than a year. If you find yourself stuck making only minimum wage for longer than a year, you're screwing up and you're not supposed to get stuck there. It's a stepping stone, including not just about money, but it's also to your mindset, right? Like this mindset of being only in minimum wage is not going to help. So in this video, what we're going to be covering is exactly what I did in my 20s to actually build a lifestyle freedom, to become a millionaire before 30, to have the skill set to actually be able to travel the world, still make some income, still working, 1 to 4 hours a day out in Asia, but without these skills, and also without having all these connections around fitness, around money, around just relationships of good friends, good people that want to see you win. And of course, also being able to find your passion is going to be key in your 20s, or else you're going to be falling behind. And the normal baseline results is people are not financially literate. They don't understand how money works. The baseline results for health is the average person, especially in the West, is obese and extremely weak. And they don't have their fitness on point. When it comes to relationships, I think it's like 30% of men over 30 haven't had a partner over the year. So people are like, mostly males, are just like lonely, don't have that deep actual connection. And then also passions, the passion's gone, right? Like while traveling Asia, I see this back home as well. People are like just dead in the eyes, right? They're just stuck in the grind, doing the same thing over and over again. Don't really see passion in their life, nor do they see hope for this passion. That's not what I want for you guys. So I'm just going to be sharing a little bit of things that have helped me in my 20s. Hopefully, you guys are at an age where you can actually still work towards living a life where you're actually free, you actually make enough money, hopefully become at least a millionaire. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. That being said, it still makes you a millionaire. So don't let anyone, not even me, diminish the value of actually having $1 million and having $1 million net worth, because it does offer you options. And also, hopefully, you can actually travel and live a life. You have awesome relationships, have your social skills actually handled to a point where people are bringing you deals, people are bringing you money. If you ever find yourself single, you could probably find an awesome partner and people actually bring that to you, because then you are actually someone of value. You don't generate that ick feeling, which I know a bunch of the young guys, even older guys, like still deal with. Now, if you're over the age of 30, still coach people around this. I was actually just coaching one of my clients, and this is actually wasn't even on the real estate side. This is like a little bit of like dating coaching I do on the side. Don't really advertise that. Most of you guys can't probably afford this. But for him, he's above 30. We're still working on things to help set him up so he can have that freedom lifestyle. And he's already got 3 or 4 flags, meaning residencies and like passports and whatnot. So different type of coaching on that end. I want to focus on the young people because they're a little bit more coachable and they actually take action on these things. Now, 4 aspects of life that I really focused on when I was younger was going to be health, which I'm drawing in my screen here. You guys don't really get to see this, but it's health, wealth, which I'm using the money sign. We got relationships, and then we got passions. Okay. I want to make sure I actually handled this because I did not want to end up being over 30-year-old and then not having a foundation on these things. Because then, yes, you could still get your life together, but you've drastically cut off the compounding effect, right? So we're going to go over through what I did to get a foundation: health, wealth, relationships, and passions. I coach real estate. If you guys don't know, I'm the president of Alliance Real Estate. And we make sure that the goal here is to not just help you build wealth in real estate, but also generate income in multiple sources of income. But the goal is not just about the money, it's about what the money represents. right? You need money to take care of health. Food costs are going up if you haven't noticed. Being able to at least have an understanding of your physical fitness requires money because you're probably gonna have to hire a coach, read a bunch of books, have the free time to carve this all out so you can actually focus on your health. Mental health is another aspect. Maybe you got to go to therapy. My mom, I grew up with her and she has bipolar disorder. So that did have an effect on myself as I got older. It's probably a big reason why I smoked so much weed when I was younger. Another one of those things where I suggest that you do not do. Again, follow kind of the advice, not what I actually did. Looking back on things, I was totally just coping with dealing with a mom that had bipolar disorder. Whatever, right? I had to cope. Cool. But now that I got older, I've seen that like weed is totally used as a way to like cope and just like destroy your full potential. If you're lazy or not sharp, if you're doing sales, you're probably not handling objections properly. You're probably sitting there if you're doing sales calls stoned, they give you an objection, and now you're just like, and then now you're screwed, right? Wealth was a big thing I focused on, especially in my younger age, because no one taught us about money in school. School was just like, hey, follow orders. I believe in a good education. That being said, you got to be able to know what a good education is. So I want to make sure that we show you guys what that kind of looks like, at least. And then with relationships, see, so many people ignore this to actually have base level social skills, right? To even be able to jump on any type of conversation and just be able to like vibe, communicate with them. How are you going to make a ton of money if you don't have solid social skills? You're like killing your own results when it comes to marketing and sales. We're going to talk about how you actually use social skills to improve those marketing sales skills today. And of course, you got to have a passion, right? At the end of the day, it just goes back to like, what are you put on earth here to do? I believe everyone has a purpose. I was going to say a hidden purpose, but sometimes it's not so hidden. You want to find that. Otherwise, you could consider yourself an NPC, right? Like a non-playable character, not the actual main character of your life. And again, I see this so often, and it used to kill me, and it used to bother me so much. Now I kind of realize, I'm closer to 30. I'm like, hey, everyone's on their path. Some people just don't want to go through that path. Some people don't want to live a passionate life. They say they do, but regardless of what they say, it's how they actually present themselves and how they actually take action. So even in Alliance Real Estate, as the co-founder and as the principal, the goal is not just to help you guys build wealth, get you guys to become millionaires, be able to have that freedom, but it's also to be able to use that money so you can actually find meaning in your life, know what your purpose is, be able to have good social skills, not just so you can raise money and close deals, but actually so you can actually just like spend your money and have a family. Most of my clients actually want to have families, or at least they already have families. Of course, you want to get your wealth handled, because that's why you're probably getting into real estate. And then finally, you got to be able to use that money to make sure you take care of your health. Because if your health is on point, everything else kind of bleeds from that. And then finally, you want to do it for a higher purpose. Personally, do this for God, right? You don't have to believe that, whatever you decide. But at a certain point, you kind of want to look at, success leaves clues. And if you take a look at it, the people that are highly successful, I'm not just talking about money, they have the full package, health, wealth, relationships, passions. They kind of thank God for all this. Like you don't get to just do this on our own. Like, yeah, you're self-made, but God's there. And if you can dedicate your life to that, I believe that actually helps you tap into a higher level of getting to that next level. And you're not just going to get comfortable and then quit once all your stuff is handled. There's more to that. How can you give back more to the world? Okay. So it came to health. First thing was, I was breakdancing when I was younger. And part of that was like staying at least physically fit to the point where you just want to have a base level foundational understanding of health and nutrition. I've probably read at least 100 books just on nutrition, probably at least 200 books on like fitness. I've hired fitness coaches. I work with one-on-one coaches, work with people just on an online setting, and really just wanted to work with the best fitness coaches I could find that also cater to the lifestyle that I wanted, right? Meaning when I chose my fitness coaches, especially now that I'm older, I don't want to work with broke fitness coaches because they're missing an aspect, right? Now I only work with fitness coaches that have their money handled, have multiple businesses, and have the other aspects handled too. Like they're not just focused on fitness, right? I want that full package. So I want to emulate or at least learn from people that are not just specific to that fitness. So if you want to just ruin your 20s, like you want to just ruin your life, ruin your full potential, all you got to do is don't work out, don't learn a foundation so you can actually understand the basics of working out, like, developing actual strength so that you don't break down when you're older. And then don't pay attention to nutrition and fitness. Okay. Now it's going to be a long term goal. You're not going to get fit overnight. I hope everyone understands that. When it comes to your personal fitness, again, if you want to ruin your 20s, you want to ruin your life, you're going to ignore working out. You're going to ignore foundations of that. And then you're also going to ignore nutrition. Now, I totally spelled nutrition wrong on my notes there. I've got my background, got my science degree in biology, so we covered a lot of fitness. Do you need to do that? No, but you can learn a ton on books, reading, mentors. YouTube University is huge. You can learn a ton from YouTube. It's like spending time so that you can actually develop those skills. Now, for the guys out there, like you should be able to do 10 pull-ups. Like you can't pull your own body weight up. Like that's fucked. Like you how do you have that not handled? How do you expect to have all the other things handled? Like life is a lot more difficult than 10 pull-ups as a dude, right? Life's gonna just keep hitting you and hitting you and hitting you. You're just gonna have to get back up, find another way, go circumvent the obstacle, or go through it the obstacle. That's way harder. Life is gonna throw things way more difficult at you than you doing 10 pull-ups. Okay. We gotta have that handle. Like it's a baseline. Even like 100 push-ups. People look at me like, "Oh, you do 100 push-ups before each meal." It shouldn't be that difficult, right? Especially if you're like decently good shape, you're decently strong. Now, when it comes to wealth, if you want to ruin and destroy your full potential in your 20s and then just like screw your life up, make things way more difficult than they should be, you're going to completely ignore financial literacy. You're going to ignore investing, even if it's just a habit of investing like $100 every time you get paid or $100 every month. And then you're going to completely ignore understanding your financial statement. So again, if you want to ruin your life in your 20s, just like be okay having less than $1,000 in your bank account. That's how you ruin that. Now, once you have that $1,000, you're going to actually want to invest in yourself and use your money to develop yourself. I actually made this mistake in that now it did teach me the habits of investing, right? But what I did was essentially every time I had $500 in my account, I would invest that into the stock market, mostly dividend paying stocks, right? So that key there is develop the habit of investing. Now, if you're not making that much money, I was working minimum wage, right? I was selling chocolate at the Lindt store, those Lindor balls. They're like have the shell and they're softer on the inside. Awesome. I love them. Probably ate way too much when I was younger, whatever, beside the point. You want to invest that money. And what I did basically, and this is for your financial education, is not financial advice, right? You decide what you do. I want to give you tools how to think about this. At the end of the day, you decide, it's your life, right? But what I did was anytime I made $500, I would invest that into the stock market. The mistake I made was I should have instead of investing that in the stock market, which was getting me like, sometimes like 10%, 7% annual dividends plus a little bit of growth. Instead, I should invest that in developing myself, which I did later on. Well, it's closer to like when I was like 22, 21, but from 18 till 21, I was investing mostly in the stock market. I should have taken that $500 I was putting away each time I saved enough to invest that, should have put that into self development. That's what I did later on. And this was when I spent money on coaches, books, programs to just fast track learning. Okay. You want to make sure you're actually learning fast enough. DIYing, unless you actually understand how to self educate yourself and not just spin your wheels, which I see so many young people doing. Like, oh, like I don't have money, so I'm not going to pay for this like $10 course. It's like, okay, cool. Like you're going to spend your money on other things anyway. Whereas, like, honestly, there's great $10 courses out there. Like we have one, it's called the Financial Intelligence Program. We sell it for $300 and we've massively discounted that to like $10. If you can't go and just pay $10 to learn about your financial statements, your business financial statements, how to have key performance indicators in your life and your business, you probably don't know what your key performance indicators are, and you don't have systems to actually course correct when you're falling off track financially, right? Like if you can't afford that, like you're screwed. Like, I'd want to help you out. But that being said, if you can't help yourself, I literally cannot help you. So same thing with finances. May try the base level of finances because you're gonna have to take care of more than just yourself. And minimum wage is not going to cut it, right? You need to get out of minimum wage as fast as you can. Okay. The biggest mistake I've seen people do, especially people closer to my age, is get stuck in minimum wage longer than a year. Like that's fucked. Like you're stuck at a point where a 16-year-old could replace you. Now you're going to be like, oh, I'm more skilled than a 16-year-old. Says your ego, right? If you are stuck at that job and you cannot get paid more, or you haven't put investments away, right? Like I worked minimum wage till I was like, my second year of university. That being said, I was putting money into the stock market, and every asset that you buy adds that passive income, which means you're actually above minimum wage already. Okay. Now, maybe it's a few cents per month. Still, people will wait a year to get a 10-cent increase or like a 25-cent increase and be happy about that. When inflation is way above that, and you could have just taken some money and put it towards investments. Now you've actually increased your income, right? Josh says back to the proper time zone. Yeah, welcome back to Canada here. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the weekend or when I'm back, I guess. With every investment that you make, you're actually increasing your income, right? So all you really need to do is make that one income, that one investment using your minimum wage income, and now you're out of minimum wage, right? So I don't understand. Like you can, if you could buy McDonald's, it's destroying your health. I had McDonald's when I was in Asia. Now again, don't follow what I'm actually doing. Trying to show you the mistakes that I've made. If you can buy McDonald's food and buy groceries, like you could put money away into one stock that pays a small dividend if that's the route you go to. Or you could develop yourself so you get better at your skills so you can increase your income, right? Getting to the point where, again, so much potential is wasted in our 20s when we're trying to figure it all on our own, trying to not invest in ourselves and not putting away for money in the future. Okay. You're always fighting inflation. Okay. The only time you're not fighting inflation is when you have real assets, meaning you have some real estate, you have some land, you have a business, you have gold, let's say. It's keeping up with inflation because as inflation rises, these things tend to go up in value as well. Now, do they actually go up in value relative to your inflation rate? Depends on the situation. That being said, at least you have a hedge against inflation. If you're just working a job for like 10 years and you spend all your 20s without no assets whatsoever, you just demolished your income potential. You're going to have to work 10 times harder to get to that point. Now, that being said, so mostly I'm trying to address the 20-year-olds because I want to give them an advantage. If you're closer to 30, you do have an advantage because you actually have life experience, right? I've coached people that are a little bit older and they'll pick up their first deal as little as like 21 days, 14 days. I coached this guy he's a little bit older. He's like closer to 40, and he closed 254 grand in deals in 7 days, and finally closed on that like fully, all done in 14 days. But it's because they have experience. So that's the advantage a 30-year-old has. You're not screwed if you're over 30, right? That's not what I'm trying to get here. You just don't want to waste your potential in your 20s. And in your 20s, because you don't know as much, you're going to have to really fuel that investment in yourself, get to a point where you're working with the best coaches you can. You're putting every dollar towards that self investment to get an advantage. Because then later on, once you are 30, you're not only going to have assets already built up and skill sets already built up, but you're also going to have the experience that came with that. Okay. Again, we're on the money topic. If you're stuck at minimum wage at 30, it's not the same as being a minimum wage when you're like 17. Okay. Because the difference is huge. At 17, you are just starting out. So it makes sense for you to be at minimum wage. At 18, 19, 20, you can still be at minimum wage. When you're closer to 29, 30, now you have minimum wage skill sets at 30. And employers are going to look at that and be like, what the hell did you do the past 10 years? Like, what other skill sets have you built other than that minimum wage job that was giving you minimum wage skill sets? So when it comes to money, you really want to build out, again, self-development to make sure that you can increase income and therefore increase net worth. Okay. Net worth is like your financial stamina bar. The higher that is, the more energy that you're refueling. In this video games, we have a stamina bar. Every action you do is kind of eating away at that. That's your financial net worth. Every choice you make is either still bringing that closer to zero or it's increasing it, right? As you get good enough, then you get the buff of passive income. So even if you spend money a month, well, now you increase it. It gets refueled at the end of the month because you have this passive income coming down. It's like you have that stamina bar that's going down, but every few seconds it's also increasing. So you get to a point where it's actually increasing more and more. Then you're bringing it down. And that's where you have that snowball effect where you just get the rich get richer, right? The rich just keep getting richer and richer. But you want to get to that point, right? When it comes to income, same concept, and that as you have that compounding effect of increasing your income, it's going to make it way easier for you to get into other businesses. So one mistake that I kind of made in my 20s, I did learn this in a different aspect, but it's going to lead into the relationship part, is this is something I learned from my mentor, is you want to learn direct response marketing. This is the ability to go directly to someone, market a product to them, and sell them that product. This is going to make you an invaluable asset to whatever company you go to. Even if my goal was to become a teacher, I always knew I wanted to become a teacher since I was like 7 years old. Okay, I already knew I was going to go down that path. I still learned direct response marketing. And I think for the teachers that are watching out there, or even if you're in other professions, but specifically I'll talk to the teachers, if you're not learning marketing, you are doing a disservice to your own teaching style and you're doing a disservice to your students. Why? Because your students are of the new generation. So they are bombarded by TikTok, right? If you're teaching a lesson, that kid is getting pulled into their TikTok and now they're just like scrolling in TikTok brain. And then while you're trying to teach your lesson, they have no idea. It's just going through their head, right? So your marketing has to be more powerful in class than that TikTok, than that phone, right? Even when your kids go back to class, like outside of class when they're doing homework, they're getting bombarded by marketing, right? So like drop the ego. I get it. Like we weren't taught this in school, but for you to keep a kid's attention, you need to be able to understand marketing and persuasion as a teacher. This is just something that I want to pass on to the teachers. Also, it's going to make you unlock the full potential you have as a teacher, because being a teacher is a 7-figure opportunity when done properly. Obviously, the school divisions don't want you to know that because they want to pay you like, the bare minimum, and then keep you stuck and tell you, hey, it's all good. You're going to have a healthy retirement. This is a defined benefit. I sat down in all those meetings and the math doesn't make sense, right? How are they? The 5 years I was teaching, our fund was losing like 11% a year, but you're supposed to get 1,000% return on your money, regardless of what happens to the fund. It makes no sense. Okay. Now, I only understand that because I became financially literate. I spent my 2 years working in the financial industry to understand these concepts. Okay. You need a base on money because money is a resource. It is your stamina bar in this world that we exist in. If you can't have a certain level of mastery of money, you're going to struggle. You're not going to have the free time. You're not going to be able to travel. You're going to have to miss a bunch of the events that your future kids have because you're stuck at work. You're going to have to miss out on opportunities because you have to go to work, right? Your job will very quickly become a liability once you actually improve your skill set and improve that income, right? Your job gets you to a point where you can increase your skill sets. Eventually, it is going to get in the way. Okay. Up until then, don't leave the job. That's all I'm telling you to do. But at least have a direct path. If you're going to go the education route, have a direct path and know that where that's going. For myself, I went the path of becoming a teacher, and I knew it was to take the leverage of becoming a French immersion teacher. I know back in my city in Winnipeg, if I only taught in English, I would not get a permanent job for like 7, 10 years, right? Way too slow. I don't want to learn slow. I want to learn fast and work with the best people. So what I did was I made sure there's a job opportunity at the end of the road. Okay. I learned negotiation, sales, and marketing so that when I walked into these interviews with school divisions, I was the one that had leverage, right? I would always leave these meetings saying, hey, I love the offer. Give me 24 to 48 hours to think about it. I'm meeting with 2 other school divisions over those next days. Whether I was or I wasn't, most of the time I actually was, I would say that again, putting myself in a position of persuasive opportunity. Okay. I'm the one that they want to work with. I don't necessarily need to work with them. That was the positioning I had. Plus, I was in French immersion, so I had the opportunities already. If I decided to go English, I knew I would be shooting myself in the face. I would take a shotgun and just boom, blow it in my face, and then gone. No more opportunities lost. I'd be waiting 7 years to get even the base level permanent contract. Right, that contract, that permanent income is an asset up until it became a liability. Okay, so again, you want to be strategic of where you're going, especially in your 20s. You don't want to just like I'm gonna figure it out. There are people that have it already figured out. Okay, find them, learn how to do that, make sure you work with the best people, and then make sure that you add leverage to your skill set. Okay. Next thing, if you want to ruin your life in your 20s, you're going to completely ignore social skills. Okay. You're going to just make sure you don't understand social skills. You're going to make sure you don't understand dating dynamics. You're going to make sure that you're just like don't offer value in the dating market, right? That's how you actually just ruin your life. Assuming you actually want to have a family and you don't want to die alone, just like have 7 cats. If that's what you want, cool. My channel's not probably that's probably not for you, right? What I did in my 20s was I actually hired a dating coach. And I struggled with massive social anxiety. The story I always tell people is like, I was on a bus. I missed my bus stop, and I literally thought that everyone on the bus stop or the bus, like on the bus, thought I was like an idiot for missing my stop. My hands started getting clammy. I started getting super sweaty. Heart rate was like going up. And that's when I realized 7 stops later, when I had to walk back like 20 minutes to go back home, I was like, okay, there's an issue here. Like, how the hell am I going to say I'm going to become a teacher and public speak every single day and be a public figure if I can't even have the balls, or I'm getting crippled by social anxiety to get up at the right bus stop? I couldn't even say hi and ask for the time from an old lady. I spent 4 hours at Polo Park, if you guys are from Winnipeg, trying to say hi. Eventually, I just said hi to an old lady and asked for the time. And I thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever done. Okay. That's how bad I started. That being said, you can learn this skill set. Now, you want to learn this skill set in your 20s because you probably have this ability to not give a shit about what people think about you. Once you get older, you're going to have an ego about it. You're going to think you're going to get psyoped by Hollywood to think that everyone has a soulmate. Like, tell me how that makes sense. If there are children in Africa or children in a third world country that are starving and then they die, where's their soulmate? Okay. This is like a totally privileged Western psyop that was given by, Hollywood. I completely blame Disney for this. Okay. All this like Disney princess bullshit. That being said, you need to learn these foundations of social skills, not only because it's going to help you with your dating life. And for myself, I hired that dating coach because I knew there would be a time around my later 20s, probably in your 30s, where I would want to actually get married. I did not want to be like some of the older people I saw that could not get like dates and they're complaining about like their dating life. I did not want that. I wanted this to be handled because I knew it was important. I knew having a healthy relationship and actually getting married at some point was something that I wanted. And I did not want to stress about that in the later years where I knew there'd be more responsibilities, right? At 16, I had an existential crisis and that I knew every year after this, responsibilities just get added. Boom, now you got to learn how to drive. Boom, now you got to go to work. Boom, now you're working 40 hours a week. Boom, now you got bills you got to pay for. Boom, now your parents are aging. Now you got to take care of them. Boom, now you realize your parents don't have enough for retirement. Now you got to invest for them. Boom, now you have a kid that popped out. Boom, now you have a wife and kids. Now you got to take care of all these people. Life just gets levels up over and over and over again. And I did not want to deal with the negative consequences of not having a foundation. Okay. Money is what we talked about earlier, but you cannot ignore your social skills because it's directly connected to your emotional skill set. Okay. And you can't save everyone. Okay. There's a story I have here where, me and my girlfriend were traveling Japan, and all of a sudden, like, there's a bunch of just like obstacles getting thrown away as we are trying to get to the airport, hauling all our luggages and trying to figure out this train subway station system. One, we like walked down all these stairs. There was no elevator. We had to carry it out. I was like, deadlifting these luggages down the stairs, bringing them down, and then realizing that that stop is closed, so we can't take that train ride. And I could see that she's getting frustrated. And my male imperative is to try and problem solve. And I wanted to just be like, hey, like, like we're still on vacation. This is like, first world problems, like, ha ha. That being said, I knew that was not the right call because we were going through an existential moment. I knew she was frustrated. She needed to do the inner work with that. And I needed to do the inner work myself too, up until we solved it. Then when it was done, it was ha ha. That was fucking crazy. We actually made the flight. It was awesome. It all worked out. That being said, like what I was going through my head was just like, hey Pat, you were homeless for 48 hours in Montreal. This is easy. You've already had time where you had like negative money in your bank account and you couldn't eat for like 2 3 days when you're living alone in Montreal. Like this is easy. Like this is a first world problem. You got this. You got this. You could do this. You've handled more than this. And that was just on a repeat in my head while I was just like breathing. Right. That is a secondary result of actually learning social skills is that I understand when is it time to problem solve, when is it time to just listen, and when is it time to let someone else solve and deal with their own problems, because you cannot save everyone until you can save yourself, right? That's kind of like a higher purpose of actually learning social skills. Plus, it's going to help you make money. It's going to help you get that awesome relationship. And it's also going to help you actually open up to people. Because if you, like, again, I see a lot of guys make this mistake where they can't actually open up to people because they're just afraid. They got like traumatized by that first like love of their life, and now they're like screwed. They can't open up to people. But if you actually learn social skills, you'll know that, hey, whether you open up to people or not, like you actually are offering value. It's like, hey, if you know you're like the best cake and you're just offering it to people, it's like, hey, like here's an amazing chocolate cake. You want to take it or not? If they say no, they're not saying no to you. They're just saying no to like the offer. You can move on. We were going to talk about passions, but I got a client that I got to meet and I lost track of time there real quick. So again, if you guys want to learn this stuff, this is stuff that we handle in Alliance Real Estate. Again, I know you guys need to build wealth, get into real estate, actually have assets, build an income. I know that's what you want and need. On the other side, though, We don't just teach that because I know that that just leads to an existential crisis. If you don't actually take care of your health, you can't perform at the highest level to become a good investor. If you don't take care of relationships, you're not going to build relationships with investors. You're not going to be able to build relationships for that family, which is going to be a higher purpose of why you actually want to get into real estate anyway. So again, in Alliance Real Estate, we do focus on real estate, making sure you become a great investor, whether you decide to use your own money or not. That being said, you got to build the other aspects as well. So I want to help you out with that. DM me the word blueprint if you want to learn more. Again, seriously, DM me the word blueprint. Do that right now. I'm going to jump on a client. I'd love to help you out, but only if you're serious. I want to help you, but you got to be able to help yourself. So you guys are awesome. We'll cover more of this next time. We didn't jump into purpose and passions. We'll do that for another live stream. Peace.
The knowledge I had with real estate wasn't that great, and that's when I knew I needed a mentor to guide me through the steps of minimizing my mistakes and obtaining property. It kept me accountable with the limited time I had after the long hours at work. It taught me things I wouldn't have learned without a mentor.
Thank you to Patrick. Big help, helped me with pretty much everything ever since I started. So big shout out to Patrick and Alliance.
Nice. Yeah, Nick's an action taker, so we can help guide you, but you still got to do work, and Nick is a testimonial for that.
Sure.
And thank you again, Patrick, for this program. It changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed everything. That was the best six weeks of my life.
I just want to give a shout out to my man Patrick. Just honestly been one of the best teachers that I've ever had.
It's a very informative course. Patrick works with you one-on-one, so if there's any questions or anything you might be doubting or you're uncertain of, he'll definitely be there to help. Honestly, highly suggest this course. It's taught me a lot through my journey.